minimised. The strong roll cage fitted into rally cars has been a lifesaver, preventing them from being crushed flat when they roll over off the track. But what about something more than a roll? Would it be enough to protect the driver and the navigator if they were careering down a 1,000-foot near-vertical ravine? That's higher than Canary Wharf, here in London's Docklands, Britain's tallest building. Rally enthusiasts Carl Rees and Dave Brick found themselves falling to that almost certain death when their car drove over a precipice in South Wales. In this reconstruction, Carl and Dave are played by actors, but the rally officials and the medical team take part as themselves.
I knew it would be risky, it was dangerous, but I think that's part of the passion. I've been rallying for about 5 years, and it meant absolutely everything to me. Just ate, drank, slept rallying, it was my life. I was looking forward to driving with Dave that day. I knew he was a very good navigator, and we were hoping to do very, very well that day.
Okay.
Yep. But I keep asking to myself this day, why? Why did I walk away and Dave didn't?
4, 3, 2, 1.
The only way Carl and Dave can speak to each other about the tremendous noise in the car is by using microphones built into their helmets.
I always relied 100% on my navigator. If he said to go left, I went left. If he said to go right, I went right. He's always reading the future from a map, so I know what's coming. The key to safety on an event is communication. The communication between driver and navigator through the intercom. Communication between marshals is very important as well.
Carl and Dave were approaching a particularly dangerous bend. Tape marked a severe drop, and drivers have been told to pass it with great care.
The weather was very hot, very dusty. We were beginning to catch the car in front of us, so we were getting caught in his dust and couldn't see as clearly as we should. The intercom started to break down. 1 minute you could hear what he was saying, the next minute you couldn't hear what he was saying.
I can't hear you.
Then Dave started to use hand signals then, which is not very accurate. We were absolutely flat out coming into that bend. We must have been doing sort of in the region of 70 miles an hour coming into that corner. I put it down from 4th gear into 3rd gear, set the car up slightly sideways, realised that we were going to have an accident, and then that's when we left the road. I can remember to this day leaving the road and seeing the edge of the track disappear away from me, like free falling away. Although it all happened in a split second, it was all slowed down. I can remember my door being ripped open, my head coming out of the door and banging on the side of the mountain, which I was beginning to get pretty frightened at that point. I was thinking, my God, this is beginning to hurt, and I really don't like it at all. Just to keep going round and round and round and round, and it was like a roller coaster from hell.
When I saw them go over, I was fearful for their lives because of the severity of the drop.
Dragon control, priority, priority.
It was a long way down, and I didn't think anybody was really likely to survive it.
The St John ambulance on duty that day was immediately called out, as well as a purpose-built four-wheel drive rescue vehicle. It's one of only 12 in the country specially equipped for rally emergencies. It was to be very important to Roy Whitney.
It was every stage commander's nightmare. This was it. This was the big one. We've had accidents before, but never to this severity. When we got to the corner, we didn't actually see anything. It was a bit hard to believe that a car had gone off. Usually when we get there, you can see the car immediately. But on this particular occasion, it was just what we would call a fresh air job. And the fact that we couldn't see the car meant that the only place it could be was right at the bottom of the ravine.
The wreckage was hidden from view, buried in deep undergrowth.
I can smell petrol, Dave.
Get out!
I'm gonna.
I was worried about fire because I could smell petrol on myself, on my race suit. If it did ever go up in flames, I wouldn't have been able to have got Dave away from the car in time.
The rescuers worked their way down the ravine, searching for traces of the accident.
There's a battery here, and a roadblock. The battery down here somewhere. This is roadblock, right?
He was in a lot of pain, crying in a lot of pain.
Don't worry, you're gonna be okay, Dave,
Awful,
all right?
awful to hear. Worst thing that I've ever heard. Somebody sort of crying in pain like that.
Dave, listen. You're gonna be all right, okay? I'm gonna go get some help. Yeah.
Go! Okay, go!
If I could have taken some of his injuries away and had them myself, I would have done at that time. It seems so ironic that Dave had such terrible injuries and I had virtually none at all.
Are you okay?
Carl had dragged himself halfway up the ravine before he found help.
It's my mate. He's in the car.
Paul, take care of him and get to the ambulance.
There's a smell of petrol.
The St John ambulance crew struggled on foot to the wreckage. On the other side of the ravine, the special rescue vehicle was led down a logging track. But it would still take the paramedic team another 20 minutes on foot to reach Dave.
I said to my colleagues in the team, these people are going to be dead when we get there. Having gone such a distance, they're going to be dead.
What we're going to do is hold your head nice and still for the moment and put your collar on.
My main worry at the time was that Dave had got some serious internal injuries that he needed to be in hospital, and he needed to be in hospital quickly. It's in those cases where they are bleeding internally that it's going to be the difference between life and death.
What we're going to do is put some drips up, yeah? You hang on to that link for me, that's your mission in life.
Okay, Carl, don't worry, no.
Carl was taken to hospital in the St John ambulance.
I just kept saying, oh my God, what have I done? All this is because of me, and I've really gone and cocked it up this time. I've really made a mistake this time.
Yeah, your mate's going to be fine. What's your mate's name?
I went through a lot of upset and guilt because I caused this accident.
We're going to have to move you fairly soon so we can get you to hospital.
One of our main concerns was that Dave had a spinal injury, and by moving him may well have caused him a spinal cord injury, which could have led to paralysis, which we obviously didn't want.
To avoid moving Dave unnecessarily, they used a special scoop stretcher.
Let us do the work.
But they still had a big problem: how to get Dave out of the ravine without injuring him further.
So I thought, well, what are we going to do? And then it suddenly clicked, and I got him.
How about search and rescue? Broadie's down the road. We could get a search and rescue helicopter. Good idea. 20 minutes after that. Yeah, so shall we go for that? Yeah. Let's see what happens. Scorpio rescue from Vanguard 02, over.
The helicopter arrived from RAF Broadie in minutes. It was the first time an air-sea rescue helicopter had been used at a car rally. It was to save Dave's life.
I think someone was certainly on their side that day. I mean, it's incredible. It's absolutely unbelievable. I didn't think I didn't think anyone could possibly survive.
Dave was in hospital for 6 weeks and had his legs in plaster for 15 months. He's made a good recovery, although the accident has left him with a permanent limp.
I've always been a fairly happy-go-lucky chap, and if things go wrong, well, we've got to get there and sort it out, And that attitude, I'm sure, does help it. It just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Round the corner, and you could see on the map there was a very, very long straight, which was downhill. So I was sort of pushing him to go fast down this long straight. At the end of this straight was this very, very bad corner, which we'd already been warned about, and I got it on my map that it was a very bad corner. What I remember then was sort of flew off the end, basically. I looked up and I could just see fresh air in front of me, really. And then suddenly we sort of bumped and crashed, and you could hear the twigs and breaking and the glass breaking. We must have been rolling lots of times and rolling, and eventually they started to get bigger bigger bumps, and I felt that I was getting shook about. My head was really fuzzy and stars and everything. And then suddenly the pain hit me then, and I just couldn't go anymore really.
Freddie, Dave's son, is the new love of his life and has made Dave think twice about more rallying.
I would love to go rallying. I would have gone rallying the next day, but I don't feel at the moment it's fair on my family, because they are the ones that have suffered. But I'd go out the next day, you know.
The accident, I think, has changed me. After a number of months of going through guilt, probably depression as well, over Dave's injuries, I decided to sit back and take stock, take a look which way I was going. So I decided to change, go into caring work, working with adults with learning disabilities. Decided to take up the guitar, which is one of my new passions now. It doesn't give me the adrenaline rush as rallying used to, but it's safer.
I know he's felt guilt, and I feel very sorry for him that he does feel the guilt, because when we started off in that morning, it was a team effort, and we were in there to do we were enjoying ourselves, and it just happened to go wrong. Oh no, it was no fault of Carl's at all.
Next week,